All right, all praise, all glory, honors most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to you in the name of His Son Jesus. I count it truly a blessing each and every single time that I can come before to preach the Word of God and never do account it as a light thing. So, all right, brothers and sisters, I want to get right into today's lesson, and it's the second part of the series on wisdom. And just so we understand what wisdom is, I always say, you have knowledge. That's when you know or can comprehend. Understanding is what you is. Well, actually, let me go back. Knowledge is when you just have basically a bit of information. All right. Um, Understanding is when you comprehend what you know, and wisdom is the comprehension and understanding and application. Wisdom is the application of what you know and understand. Okay, but there's a starting point to that. And so here I want to deal with the beginning of wisdom. Okay, and this is Proverbs, the first chapter. I'm going to skip around Proverbs a bit. And it says in verse 7, Proverbs 1:7, it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." Right? So reverencing of God and showing him proper honor and fearing and acknowledging who he is and having an idea of this is somebody that you don't want to mess with, that's the beginning of knowledge. It's also the beginning of wisdom we'll find. But he says, what does he say about fools? Just like fools say there is no God, fools despise wisdom and instruction. That is what makes them a fool. Right? People are not wise because they're all knowing. People are wise because they can apply what they know and understand and have the humility to acquire it and also have, when you really understand, you know that there's so much that you don't know. I always tell people, you can fill a world with what I don't know. So but to acknowledge the one who knows all, who is omniscient, which is the Most High, and the one who is all powerful, which is omnipotent, that is the Most High. To acknowledge him and to fear him, that is the beginning of knowledge. That's your starting point, because that will lead you in the proper direction. That will direct your life. This is Proverbs the 8th chapter. Proverbs the 8th chapter in verse, let's see. Let's pick it up at actually, we were here yesterday. Let's pick it up at Proverbs. I actually want to pick it up at Proverbs the 9th chapter. Let's pick it up at Proverbs the 9th chapter and verse 10. So now we read about knowledge. Then he says something about wisdom here. He says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." Okay. So again, that's a starting point of knowledge, wisdom, fearing the Most High. And he said, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding, that which is sanctified. Okay. Let's continue. Let's pick it up in another spot. Let's go to Job, the 28th chapter. Let's see what's said there concerning this. This is Job, the 28th chapter. And we'll pick it up at verse 28. Job 28 and verse let's pick it up here at verse 28. He says, because in verse 28, okay, so in 28 and starting at verse 1, just to give you some background on this chapter, verses 1 through 11 are telling you about seeking wisdom like you would seek for something precious. Okay, we talked about the value of wisdom in the last lesson that I did. So, for example, in verse 1, it says, "Surely there's a vein for the silver and a place for gold where they find it. Iron is taken out of the earth, and brass is molten out of the stone. He setteth an end to darkness and searcheth out all perfection, a stone of darkness and the shadow of death." Okay, so he's talking about here all these things. You're in search of something, but then he goes on to say in verse 12, "But where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof, neither is it found in the land of the living." The depth saith, it is not in me, and the sea saith, it is not with me. It cannot be gotten for gold, neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, with the precious onyx or the sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. So again, this is the value of wisdom. Okay. He goes on to say in verse 23, God understandeth the way thereof, and he knoweth the place thereof. For he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven, to make the weight for the winds, and he weighed the waters by measure, when he made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lightning of the thunder. Then did he see it, and declared it. He prepared it, yea, and searched it out. And unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. What is he saying to you? He said, listen, it is wise to fear the Most High. And when you fear the Most High, what are you going to do? You are not going to violate his instructions. Why aren't you going to violate his instructions? Why are you going to depart from evil? Well, let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. And we'll pick it up at verse 12. At verse 12. Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. And that chapter begins telling you about how it is ideal to serve the true and living God in your youth before the evil days draw nigh. Those days when you won't have any pleasure in them. Those days when you get old and your body breaks down and then you go back to the dust. And it's not just that your body's going to break down and you go into the dust and that's it. No, that's not it. This is Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, in the 13th verse. He says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So again, you see this, we keep seeing this theme of fearing God, right? So when you fear God, just like if you were to fear a parent, if you truly feared your mother and your father as a child, you would do what they said to do. Why? Because you have honored them. You show them proper honor, and you fear the consequences for not doing what they said to do. It is an acknowledgement of their power. So often we refuse to acknowledge God. We'll follow laws that man has set up for fear of going to jail, but we don't fear the consequences of violating Torah. So he says, let us people think about God, they don't really know God, because the Bible says, he that saith, I know him, he keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So they don't know God, nor do they understand the relationship or the dynamics of the relationship between themselves and the Most High. That relationship is one of authority and a subordinate. If you didn't figure it out, we are the subordinates. Okay? So we are to, and all of us, not a few, not some, not most, but all are to be obedient to the Most High God. That's all people of all nationalities. We are free agents. We can show. He didn't make robots. He didn't make automons. He made free-willed individuals in his image and in his likeness. We don't have a right to violate his law, but we have a choice. Just like you can violate man's law, but you don't have a right to do it. Why? Because there are consequences. Same thing with God. Only the consequences we will find out much more grave. So he says, again, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. If you want to know what does God want me to do, what should I be doing? This is it. That's your whole duty. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. That is the universal duty of all individuals. That is the universal purpose for each and every one of us. We have an individual purpose in a sense of something we're supposed to be fulfilling based on what was given to us by the Most High. Whatever gifts that are buried within us. Just like we were reading Job, the 28th chapter, about you vain, you digging for silver, you digging for gold, you digging for these things, right? Well, education is the process of discovering the jewels, the gifts that are inside of you. Imagine it, brothers and sisters. Just a side note. Imagine it. You're at home, right? And you, unbeknownst to you, your home is sitting on $100 million worth of crude oil, right? But you never actually dig down into the soil to find it. That's how people die without true education. I'm not talking about because you went to school. I'm not even talking about because you have a degree. I'm talking true education. It's pulling out the oil. It's pulling out what's inside, the gift that is inside of you. Most people die without even ever discovering that gift. Okay, that's just a side note. So that's your individual. That is your individual purpose. The universal purpose, because you're supposed to be doing something with that gift. The universal purpose that we have is to fear our Creator, fear God, and keep His commandments. For this is the whole duty of man, and He tells you why it is imperative, why we should do this. It says, "For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil." There is no hiding from the Most High. He's omniscient. He knows how many hairs on your head. He knows what you would do before you did it. That's why when He made man, He already had a plan of salvation for man. That's why Jesus is a lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So when He used wisdom to create the world, He's omniscient. He already knew what this man would do. Somebody like that you need to fear. Again, we fear everybody. We fear the school bully. We fear the neighborhood gangster. We fear the IRS. We fear our boss. We fear the authorities, police with police powers. We fear the judge. Respect should be shown. We should. My rule, I try to respect everything around me. But ultimately, it's one that's higher than everything around me, and that's the Most High. So again, let us see the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. When the gospel according to Luke, chapter 12. Gospel according to Luke, chapter 12, and we'll pick it up at verse 4. Because here Jesus tells us who we need to fear and why it's wise to fear. We read, hey, that's the beginning of wisdom. Fearing God. Well, what will God do? Why should we fear Him? Luke, the 12th chapter, verse 4. You fear Him because of His power, brothers and sisters. Luke 12 and 4. And I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them that kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. See, those other ones that I mentioned to you, again, the school bully, the neighborhood gangster, the authorities, they can do something to your life. They can bring you pain and anguish. They can even end your life. Right? But He said, don't fear them. I want to tell you who you should fear. Verse 5. He said, but I will forewarn you whom ye shall fear. Fear Him which after He had killed hath power to cast into hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear Him. And this is the beginning of wisdom, brothers and sisters. The fear of God, who can cast you into hell. And so what are the conditions of hell? This is Mark, the 9th chapter. Mark, the 9th chapter, and let's pick it up at verse 43. This is why it's wise to fear God. It's not rocket science. Mark, the 9th chapter, and verse 43. It says, and if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed than having two hands to go into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. So He's telling you, listen, whatever you need to do to bring your body into, He's not telling you to literally dismember yourself. What He's telling you is, by all means, right, what you need to do is you need to bring your body into subjection, because it is with your body that you sin. You need to stop doing that. Otherwise, you're going to be cast into the lake of fire, into hell fire, which who has the power to do that? The Most High. He says, and go there, He says, into a fire that shall never be quenched, kind of like the burning bush. that body and put you into the lake of fire. All right. So it says, and again, if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter the life, man, than having two hands to go into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched. That's an everlasting fire. You read in the book of Revelation when the beast and the false prophet are cast into the lake of fire. And they're there before Satan. 1,000 years later, Satan and his minion are cast into the lake of fire where the beast and the false prophet are. This is eternal damnation. Then it says, and the worms eat your flesh. See, one thing about that first death, yeah, you die. You die and worms eat your carcass. And then you turn back to the dust, and that's it. But then there's time for judgment, as we read in Ecclesiastes. He's going to bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. You're going to have to give an account. It would be wise for you to fear God. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we have the Household of Faith. We have at the 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at www.israelteach.org. If you've been edified through the ministry and would like to leave a donation, you can do so on our website again. That's www.israelteach.org. ISRAELTEACH.org. 100% of the proceeds goes to the work of the ministry. There we have Bible study. We have Bible study tomorrow. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and that is on Zoom. Okay, and the personal meeting ID number for that is 845-710-8849. Again, that number is 845-710-8849. 7 p.m. At Central Standard Time every Wednesday. That is a scriptural study. Usually it's a scriptural study. Sometimes I do history and other things, but usually it's a scriptural study. Question and answer is on Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. That number is 602-961-1318. Again, that's another Zoom meeting. Bible study, question and answer, Friday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. The number, personal meeting ID number is 602-961-1318. All right. Finally, there are books that I've written. Those 8 books are on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and other places where books are sold. I just published another book called Sex, Marriage, and the Bible. It is now available for purchase. Check that out. You want to know about the homosexual. You want to know what the Bible says about sex. You want to know what it says about marriage. You want to know what it says about gender, and you compare that to what's going on. And you want to see the homosexual agenda that has been implemented and how it came about. And check that book out. Check that book out. You want to see what's going on politically right now, and when you look at, for example. When you look at these, millennials today, roughly 30% would describe themselves as LGBTQ. That's because there was a program that was successfully implemented. That book deals with that. Okay. It also deals with where you get your ideas about what is moral and immoral in regard to marriage. All right. But also, I've written other books. Into Egypt Again with Ships, The Pagan Origins of Christian Holidays, Hair Like Wool, Feet Like Burned Brass, Killing Black Innocents, But Then Shall Be Great Tribulation, In Defense of Biblical Polygyny, The Feast Days, The Shadow of Things to Come, and again, Sex, Marriage, and the Bible. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you are edified.